Hey guys, it's Sutton with Capa Customs, and today we are going to be doing our aluminum V2 competition frame overview. Let's get into it. So guys, with this frame, you are going to get the 3 standard pieces: the main frame, the side panel, and the chassis, as well as the 2 screws for it and 2 set screws. Now the set screws won't come pre-installed. I installed it just for time's sake, but I will go over that later. And essentially, it is plug and play, which is why I love this 3-piece method, which I will get into shortly. Just to show you real quick some fitting of everything together. So if I put some of these slides on, for example, here's our Cobra slide. This is a custom anodized one. Look at how perfect that slides. No extra fitment required. I mean, it'll basically barely slide there. There's hardly no wiggle room at all, as you can see. I mean, just perfect frame alignment there. Here's one with the rainbow. Again, it'll free fall, but it is very smooth and you're not going to get any extra wear there. This is one of our upcoming slides as well. Same thing, just buttery smooth and looks really great. Here's one all put together, just so you can see. We showcase this on our Instagram a bit. And we are basically just going to convert all of the stock pieces over to this frame while I talk about it. So guys, for the install, this is our new Waldo Dynamics lube. I would recommend the thin lube on these top rails here, and then the thick lube for all of the hammer internals. To save us some time, I already swapped over the TM stuff, so I put in the firing pin and the spring and the valve knocker and the spring. It's all drop in, and then obviously you put in that screw that puts the side panel and chassis together. If you're buying this frame, you should already know how to install the hammer and internals, but I just went ahead and did this to save us a little bit of time. Now I will move on to the rest of the pieces. I will again put this thick lube on everything to give it some nice grease and ability to move around a little bit with all these interchanging parts. I'm using stock everything. I used our hammer just because I didn't have a stock of the TM hammer laying around, but our hammer is basically the same spec, and it'll make it easier to show you the one sort of tuning feature with our frame that we did intentionally that I will get into. Essentially, this is completely TM compatible. You can use any aftermarket parts, and it just works really, really well. It's over 2 times lighter than the TM frame, so much lighter. Once you feel this frame and use this high Capa with the weight, you'll never go back to that heavy TM frame. You of course have the full top rails on the top for better sliding and consistent, nice smooth shooting. We also have the rails on the bottom. And again, we use the TM system for the simple reason that I 100% believe that it works better than the sort of advanced methods. The 3-piece system is much harder to machine because of the 3 interfaces that go together, but the shooting is much more fluent, consistent, not as sluggish. You can also tune the trigger pull to be lighter. I could go on and on about the benefits of the 3-piece system, but we are really the first ones to bring a good 3-piece frame to market that's pretty much drop in. So with that being said, I want to now show you the one mod and recommendation that we do for these frames, which is intentional. So you'll want to hold the hammer up, basically like lock it in with the sear, and then hold it up as high as it'll go with the sear locked. And then you'll want to put a slide on and see if they touch. Now, as you can see, they do not. So see that movement or the spacing between the blowback unit and the hammer? This is intentional, and we may continue to dial this in, but we actually like where it's at right now, where you can dial it in yourself. So what we're going to want to do is make the hammer sit a little bit higher to sit right underneath that blowback unit. And it should work now, because when it shoots, the momentum of the hammer will fly backwards and should reset just fine, but we want the hammer to nudge up right against the bottom of that blowback unit. So to do that, we will simply adjust the sear. I do not recommend adjusting the hammer, although you can, but it typically just ruins your hammer. I would just recommend adjusting the sear. You can do it to the stock sear. You can also do it to our sear, our green one. Our frame does not come with an aftermarket sear, but obviously you can purchase one. And all you want to do, basically, we just want this hammer to sit higher. And the reason why we didn't have it sit higher by default is so that you can tune it. Because on TM, depending on the aftermarket parts that are used, if it sits too high, you're basically screwed and the hammer can get caught underneath the blowback unit. Now, for a blowback unit like ours with the ramp, this is sort of prevented, but it does have a more sluggish feel to it. So we preferred to have the hammer sit lower, and then you can tune your hammer and sear setup, no matter what hammer and sear it is, to sit right underneath the blowback unit for optimal performance. So with all that being said, all you have to do is slightly shave the end of the sear. And what this is gonna do is, again, make the hammer sit higher. So I wouldn't be, I would go a little at a time. I would shave off of the front and then sort of shape it on the sides. So we'll do a fast forward to me doing this. I'm only gonna take off a 1/10 or 2 of a millimeter. It does not take much. And again, it's completely dependent on your setup. Some setups might fit right in, but again, we designed this so that any combination of sear and hammer can be adjusted to fit in our frames. And we prefer this method so that you can get it basically tuned as little touching on the blowback unit as possible, while it does reset every time for optimal shooting and performance. So after about, a minute of shaving here, again, I'm just taking off a little bit of this top front and then shaving out the sides to make it more pointed. I will mention that aftermarket sears like ours actually make it easier, since this point is kind of more uniform, so you can shave just basically from the top and shape it a little easier. But at the end of the day, it does the same exact thing. So now what you'll want to do is, again, and do this in slow motions. I've done this, a lot, so I know what I'm looking for and know what I'm doing. But yeah, I mean, you may have to kind of fine tune this. So we'll put it together again. We'll lock out the hammer. We'll, move this here and lock it. Also, you can completely install this to test too, if you can have a hard time lining up this hammer properly. And now we will see. Oh, that is perfect. Yeah, that is perfect. So let me lock out the hammer to show you guys. So now, as you can see, it is just bumping the top there. Oh, it's not locked out. Again, altogether, this will be even easier to show, but it's basically just barely hitting the top of the hammer. Let's see if it'll focus. It's barely hitting the top of the hammer, so it's locking it out, but it's not causing, over stress. So it's just rubbing on the top, which is exactly what we want. So this is now perfectly tuned, and now it's as simple as installing it like everything else. So we will do that now. Also, we'll go over the set screw install and tuning as well. Very nice to get your hop-up unit basically without any extra wobble. So very great features there. And so we really made this as drop-in as possible, while still being able to work with any aftermarket parts, and even a little bit more so than TM with our hammer tuning, so that you can actually tune it exactly how you want it. Again, we prefer this to the normal system, because if you're buying an aftermarket frame, you should know what you're doing, and having that ability to tune your hammer just gives it that much more customization and everything else. So I will put in the ambi safety here. Let's see. There we go. So safety's very nice, tight fit, work just like anything else. Let's see. And now we will install the frame. So I'll push the hammer up, push the safety up, line up the two disconnector and sear with the sear spring. And again, I just wanted to showcase this just to show you how easy and drop-in it is. Everything just fits together really well. We've worked on this frame for 1.5 years and are super, super happy with the end result we were able to achieve. And obviously you can put in the front screw as well. The picatinny on the bottom is great for mounting lights of any sort, so you can mount lights. And we will put in the hammer spring here. And why not throw on this mag well as well. I'll wait till it stops shaking. So this is the upper assembly, easy as that. As you can see, it feels so crisp, like the TM feels super light as well. So overall, just a really, really awesome piece. Now we will go over the hop-up adjustment. So guys, with the hop-up unit, you're gonna wanna put these 2 set screws in and Loctite them just so they stay in place with the vibrating and the shooting. We don't want them to move around, so Loctite them. And then what you're gonna wanna do is put them through the bottom of the frame. So right there, below that point is the screw. And what you're gonna wanna do is basically screw it through and then insert your hop-up unit and see if it'll fit on. And then if it does, then you're gonna wanna, adjust the screw further so it sits further down. Do this until your hop-up unit physically will not go on, because basically this top surface lines up with this surface on the frame. And then this bottom surface, we want to line up on the bottom of that set screw so there's absolutely no up and down movement whatsoever. So if I line up this one, and I would recommend doing 1 screw at a time. I already put 2 in, but I would recommend doing the first screw, figuring out the alignment, making it as tight as possible, and then doing the second one so you only have 1 variable at a time. So if I try to put in our hop-up unit right now, it's going to be too tight and it will not go on. As you can see, it's not able to push past here. So what I'll do is I'll take my little set screw, or my Allen key, and adjust very slightly, unscrew it a little bit so that it goes further up. Now we will see. And there you go. So I kind of already tuned them, but I just wanted to adjust that first one a little bit. And now, as you can see, I could probably adjust this a little bit more. But as you can see, I mean, there's really no movement whatsoever. I mean, that thing is locked in place. And as you can see, you're gonna get way more stable, accurate, and consistent shooting with these set screws locking in that hop-up unit and not allowing for hardly any extra wiggle room there. So guys, to wrap things up here, I will put a little bit of this thin lube on the rails here, just to make it very nice and smooth. I just fit the hop-up unit together with the stock unit on this upper. And now, as you can see, it basically slides on, then you can kind of push it that last bit away to line up the hop-up unit. Just buttery smooth. There's no extra wiggle room here at all. Just without the slide stop too. Just such a good alignment. So give it a few racks. We'll wipe off any excess lube here. Then we will give this thing a shooting to show you the shooting performance. So as you can see, this frame is really, really amazing. Pretty much straight drop in, and you can tune your hammer 2.5 times the weight of, or lighter than the stock frame. Great little LA markings, cutouts in the front, and just an amazing 3-piece TM style frame. Be sure to get it now, available on our website. There's truly nothing else like it.